Welcome, everyone. We hope you enjoy today's lesson,
Grumpy Beard Dance.
brought to you by the Handlebar Life. So before you head out on the road, have you gone through your T-CLOCS yet? What do you mean, what's your T-CLOCS? Well, let me put it to you this way. Is a few minutes of your time worth your life? So the T in T-CLOCS stands for tires. Tire pressure, tire tread, and of course, checking the condition of your wheel. Now, tire pressure is pretty basic. Typically, most tires have the recommended tire pressures molded right into the sidewall. If for some reason yours does not, check with your local tire retailer or go on the interwebs for that specific information. Now, checking your pressure, fairly simple. Just remove the cap from the stem here. Very easy, comes on and off relatively easy. And please, don't overlook putting this back on. It's very important that you keep the cap on the stem. All right, so now, when I was a younger fella, pretty much this was the only option. Let's stick with numbers. Work great. Nowadays, we've got dial gauges. We even have electronic ones. Fantastic. Makes it so easy. They all kind of hook up the same way. So we've got a very basic stick with numbers here. You can get them at an auto parts store for a couple of bucks. They're very handy and might keep you out of trouble. So we have our cap removed. We want to go ahead and put this on the little stem. Make sure it's aimed in there. We got plenty of room. Then we just push it on. Now all you want to hear is that little, yeah, just that. You don't want to, because you are not going to get an accurate reading, and you're just letting air out of the tire. So now we have our stick with numbers on here. We check against the values molded in the side of the tire or that we acquired from other sources. And looks like we're doing good. We're looking on the PSI side versus the millimeter side, but PSI, pounds per square inch. As long as we're within that recommended range, we're going to be doing good. So now, tread depth. You can go ahead and buy one of these for $5 or $6, your local auto parts store. They're just another stick with numbers. They have both tread depth an inch or 30 seconds of an inch, and they got some millimeter stuff on there for our friends north of the border. So you're going to make sure it's sticking out. You're going to put it into your tread at, I guess, about the deepest part of the tread. Drop it down, and then read it. Now, typically, most of the manufacturers recommend 2 seconds as a minimum. All right. Last but not least, you want to look at your rims. Look at the condition of them. Now, we got a steel rim over here. It's kind of stout, robust. We have an aluminum rim here that's made for lightness. They're both purpose-built. We have that spoke here. We have standard spoke here. The other thing that you can do is go around and check all the spoke nipples, all right, by hand. If any of them seems a little loose, they do sell spoke nipple wrenches pretty cheap. You can just snug them up. But yeah, very simple stuff that you can do to cover the T in T-CLOCS. The first C of T-CLOCS is controls. So you're going to saddle up and assume the position. First thing you'll do is grab a hold of your clutch. Now, can you kick it out of gear? If you did, cool. If you kick it in gear, will it have resistance but still roll? Again, cool. Depending on your setup, you may have little to no resistance, or you may have some noticeable resistance. Okay, now with it still out of gear, your feet still to the side, you're rolling it back and forth. Grab a hold of your front brake. Does it stop the motion? It did? Okay, super. If it doesn't, you may want to put the trip off for today, or at least make sure that you're topped off with the proper fluids. So we'll assume that it did stop. Now you're going to do the same thing to your rear brake. Did it stop the movement? It did? Fantastic. Again, if not, then you're going to want to make sure that your fluid is topped off down below, and then start doing some other checks if necessary. So then you're going to go ahead and check all your cables, make sure they're tight and the adjusting nuts aren't loosened up. Some of your hoses, like your brake line or your clutch line, if you have hydraulic clutches, that they're good and tight and nothing's leaking. Speaking of leaking, you're also going to go and check your fuel line, make sure that's cool. Then you're going to grab a hold of your throttle. I know this is kind of weird, whether it's carbureted or fuel injected, but just go ahead and make sure it freely moves back and forth, and you can hear the butterfly snapping back and forth. If so, then it looks like, at least now, the T and the first C are out of the way. Okay, cats and kittens, while you're still in the saddle, still assuming the position, hopefully bike's back in gear, we're on to the letter L for T-CLOCS. L is for lights. So guess what? we're going to turn them on. Headlight works. You can always reach forward. Well, I can't, but maybe you can. Hopefully you have a friend that can help you out with this. Headlight, tail light. You also want to check any side markers that you might have. Okay, we're looking good there. Now we're going to go ahead and do turn signals. Looks like that one's working okay. Looks like that one's working okay. Little trick there. One last thing. Yes, the horn. It does actually have to work, and sometimes it might let other drivers know that you don't think a whole lot of the driving skills. I don't know. So the O in T-CLOCS is for oil. That's oil and any other lubricants or fluids that you have on board. So prime opportunity. You're going to check your oil level, and on a machine like this, we also have a separate transmission and a primary drive, so we can check the fluid levels in them as well. Also, you might want to check your brake fluid levels. Just as crucial, you want to check underneath your machine. Are there any little puddles? Are you leaking any fluid? So typically, most machines, let's see, we'll have a dipstick, and it will tell you what your engine oil level is. The second C in T-CLOCS stands for chassis, which includes your frame. You're going to want to look it over, make sure there's no breaks in any of the tubes or any cracks. You're going to want to especially look at the welds. Now, on something painted black like this, if you see a little silver hairline, that could very well be a sign of a fracture or a crack or a break in the weld. You want to get that looked at right away. If you see any tubular fractures, don't write it. You want to get that also addressed right away. Next is your suspension. So if you've got forks or hydraulic front suspension like this guy here, you're going to want to take a look and make sure the seals are still good by checking the upper legs. Is there a bunch of oil on them? Well, your seals may be going or they may be gone. Is there any oil down on the ground dripping directly from underneath your forks? You're going to want to get that addressed. Is it still kind of rideable? Yes, but remember, limp mode, okay? Now, the same thing goes for your rear suspension. If you got shocks like this, especially with a reservoir, go ahead and check that for leaks. Check the spring, make sure there's no big dings in there. Lastly, but very important, you want to check the slack on your chain or your belt, okay? Take Harley-Davidson, for instance. They call out 3/4 of an inch total slack. So you're going to look for the midpoint between the two sprockets, or yes, they call them pulleys for belts. And you're going to want to take a measuring stick, put it right in front of that. Where is it at total rest? Move it up. Okay. Is it 3/4 of an inch or less? Now, for your ride specifically, again, look in your owner's manual or on the interwebs. Very important, but it's very simple to check. Get back in the saddle. Assume the position. All right. The last letter of T-CLOCS is S. And what does that stand for? It stands for stands. So whether you have a side stand or a center stand, you want to make sure they're operating correctly. Nothing worse than pulling up to a gas station, having to run in to pay the water bill. You come out and your bike's flat on its side. So anyway, T-CLOCS. A couple minutes of your time can really save your butt, okay? Big deal. So please, before you're venturing out even any farther than your local watering hole or your favorite breakfast joint, please do a quick T-CLOCS. The life you save may be your own. God, who did say that? Anyhow, very true. So please, T-CLOCS. Thank you for watching today's lesson. Cheerfully provided by the Handlebar Life.
Grumpy Beard Dance.
We hope you found it informative and educational. To improve your future lesson experience, please provide your feedback, your suggestions, your critiques in the comments section so we can provide the most effective transfer of knowledge possible for you.